Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Monday, June 1st, and as you know, the news is like a fire hose in my face every day. From the right, from the left, so much propaganda, so many lies, so many mistruths. It's very hard to go through all of it, but that's why we're here every day, you and me, mano y mano, going through the headlines in the news, not left, not right, just the truth, straight up, no chaser every single day. And of course, we have a lot to get to today on the Shannon Joy Show and a big week of shows for you this week. We're live on Rumble, live on Twitter, we're live on YouTube, Roku TV, Apple TV, live on Substack. Great to see those platforms growing. We are live on Facebook. And of course, if you want to get the Shannon Joy Show via audio every day, we are uploaded about 300,000 times every single month by our growing audio audience. So for those of you who are listening to the Shannon Joy Show, I'm so thankful for all of you. Please consider giving this show a 5-star review if you like it. And of course, leave a comment or a recommendation because that really helps to grow the show. So for everyone who's watching on all of the platforms, the same goes for all of you as well. We are independent here in the Shannon Joy Show. I don't take any money from foreign investors. I don't take any money from foreign countries. We don't take any money from political parties on the left or the right, no money from super PACs or secret billionaire financiers. It's just you and me, your contributions and donations and the advertisers at the Shannon Joy Show that keep the lights on here, and we grow organically. So typically, we don't get any help from the algorithms on any of these platforms. And so it's got to come from all of you. So if you're watching right now and you like the show, please give us a like, a thumbs up, a comment, a share. Tell all your friends about the Shannon Joy Show because this is one of the very few daily outlets. We're on live every day with some of the best experts and independent voices in the world in all areas of politics and culture. And we do this every day live for about an hour and a half. And there are very few other outlets out there that are truly, ultimately 100% independent. Meaning, I'm going to critique the left in the same way I would critique the right. Doesn't matter if Biden is in office or Trump is in office, we're going to test everything they do against this country's founding principles, our Bill of Rights, the Constitution of the United States of America, common sense, blatant truth, and of course, for me, my Christian values. So that never changes, and it's never changed in 13 years. This is why I was the same when I got into producing and hosting the Shannon Joy Show. Barack Obama was the president at that time, and we critiqued him in that way according to those principles. Then when Donald Trump came into office right after, we did the same thing, critiquing him against the same principles that we used when Barack Obama was in office. Then when Biden came into office, well, we did the same thing because that just makes a lot of sense. And now that Trump is in office again, well, I'm still here telling you the truth every single day according to those principles. And it's amazing to me that more people don't do it this way. It's quite easy. I never have to change, right? And I tend to be right about a lot of things. One of the reasons that so many pundits and advocates and influencers and media people are wrong or be clowning themselves on a regular basis, whether it's left or right, it's because they've tethered themselves to politics, politicians, and political factions rather than principles and ideology. And so, well, when their guy is in office, they have to do a whole lot of lying and gaslighting and manipulating and vice versa, right? They switch it up every 4 years and then the other side has to lie to you. I don't have to do that. And it is a real blessing. And I can only do that because all of you. So your contributions to the SJ show, your donations are amazing. And your help helping us to grow organically every single day is absolutely necessary. So I appreciate all of you. And it's great to see you. So let's say hello to the live chat, everyone on Rumble. They are riled up today. Be My Valentine is with us. Good day, dear friends. It's great to see you. BMV. Hey, Ollie Robin 9. Great to see you on the live chat. Lou Melcom is with us. And Eternal Perspective. It's great to see you on the live chat. Who else do we have? Bill Benz. So good to see you. And Ralph the Flying Dutchman. Hello, hello. How was everyone's weekend? Mine was great. Took a nice, relaxing break from all of the politics and spent time with my family. And I hope that's what all of you guys are doing on the weekends, because honestly, you can only do this 5 days a week or else it'll drive you crazy. You need the break every weekend. And so I always take that break as needed. Be My Valentine. Yes. Good. Oh, yes. Last week on Friday, we had a really great recommendation. I did not get to see the Jones Plantation, but it looks like Eternal Perspective did. And I would love to hear about what you guys think. It's a recommended, it's really on the simulation and propaganda and the Hegelian dialectic and all those things. And I plan on watching that hopefully this week. And then I'll report back to all of you. But we had Jeff Berwick, the Dollar Vigilante, on Friday, blew my mind. I think blew a lot of your minds as well, but he makes a lot of sense. And so I want to encourage you guys to go back. Last week, we had some killer expert guests. We had Tiffany Cianci on the show about the coming financial risk, basically the big AI tech bros, along with their cronies and their counterparts in the federal government, the Trump administration and the banksters are coming together to craft a scheme to invest Americans' pensions and 401ks into super, super risky business, very similar to the 2008 housing collapse. They're packaging this up. This all has to do with the AI bubble and the chips and the Magnificent Seven. We're going to get into all of that today. But last week, Tiffany Cianci was ringing that alarm bell. Very important conversation that I had with her. Also, Peter Schiff with a great conversation about the economy and the disparity at this point between Main Street, what all of you are experiencing on a regular basis, what I'm experiencing as a small business owner and a solidly middle-class mother of 3 with a husband, a 3-legged cat, 3 kids, 2 in college, a mortgage, right? Car loans, all the things. I'm just like all of you. And because of the profligate spending, because of the money printing, because of the corruption, the insider trading, and the monopolies that have been built, it's an unholy alliance between big government and big corporations. Some would call it fascism. Peter Schiff and I had a discussion about fascism, the definition of that last week. And that is what this country looks like today. But it is crushing the average American. And things appear to only be getting worse. And you guys see the headline of today's show. Another great movie, The Big Short. This was starring Christian Bale playing Dr. Michael Burry, a very brilliant and quirky investor that called the housing collapse of 2008 before anyone else did. In fact, he was ringing the alarm bell for almost a year, a little over a year before the collapse actually happened. And he predicted that. He was one of the only investors that was willing to publicly predict that. He ended up making hundreds of millions of dollars because he was part of that short. But he is now ringing the alarm bells again. He doesn't come out very often. And just recently, he's now dropping a bombshell on the Nvidia and xAI deal, calling it Fugazi. That is fake, right? Italian for fake, I think. He's warning now that retirement accounts are at extreme risk. That is your 401k, your pension, and potentially other investments as well. We went into all of this. We began laying the groundwork for all of this last week. But as you know, here in the Shannon Joy Show, I have been talking about this, the circular investing, the insider trading, the inflating of the Wall Street balloon, the Wall Street bubble that is built entirely on the Magnificent Seven, right? 7 tech corporations that are all making each other rich with the help of the federal government, that are are financed primarily by three major institutional investors, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. And they're the ones who are distributing these very shaky stocks, these very unstable stocks into 401ks and pensions across the country. And just recently, in the past year, since Donald Trump came into office, through a variety of mechanisms, the big, beautiful bill, some executive orders, and in other ways, essentially, the Trump administration is paving the way for them to removing barriers for them to increasingly use Americans' and investments in retirement accounts to fund these shaky stocks. And when the rug is pulled, it is going to come crashing down, but not on them, on all of you, right? Because this is how the new, United States, what would you call it? Crony capitalism, quasi-socialism. I would call it fascism. But again, it's always privatizing the gains and socializing the losses, right? Privatizing the investment for them at the beginning on the front end, and then socializing all of the risk. So they get rich on the backs of American retirement accounts, not to mention getting rich on the money printing operation, where the federal government prints trillions and trillions of dollars, devaluing your dollar and increasing inflation for everyone. They hand them over to these preferred companies in the form of massive subsidies or tax breaks or beneficial tax policies, investments, in the case of companies like Palantir and most of Elon Musk's companies, they're all subsidized and they all get massive, massive government contracts to do God knows what, basically nothing. And so this is just one giant, giant corrupt operation. As I mentioned before, the blatant now unholy alliance between big government under the Trump administration and big corporate, particularly the banksters and the tech bros. We knew this 2 years ago. I reported to you that the tech bros had purchased Donald Trump. They pushed him over the finish line. They were the ones who installed him in Washington, D.C. as the president of the United States of America. And now, in a blatant and breathtaking fashion, he is now looting the country, looting the American citizen, shredding our Constitution as we approach the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country, our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. They're shredding every aspect of that, and it's only getting worse. Very crazy out there right now. So we're going to be getting deep into that today. As I mentioned last week, Sasha Latypova will be joining me later in the week. There's a lot to talk about regarding medical fascism and medical freedom, as we're seeing more and more vaccines come onto the market. The latest one, they now have a vaccine for Lyme disease. They're creating a vaccine for the hantavirus. We have all the scares about Ebola, and Sasha Latypova has a lot to say about all that. So medical freedom update coming up later this week with Sasha. And as I mentioned, I am working on Daniel Horowitz as well on the data centers. Another big, massive data center bites the dust. And we're going to be talking about, it's amazing and wonderful to watch. That's the good news right now, is that the American people are waking up. They're waking up to the uniparty corruption, the false choices, the Hegelian dialectic, the fact that the left and the right work together to divide us. And they're becoming less sticky when it comes to partisan politics. And a lot of this is coming around the very real problem of inflation. Every American, left and right, young, old, can feel the impact of massive inflation with everything. And I have a piece here by David Bird that we're going to look at today, the Wall Street, Main Street disconnect. It's very important. We're being gaslit. And so we're going to look at that today. But this is resulting in people waking up and really becoming alarmed at what is happening within Washington, D.C. And especially we're seeing it in our backyards with the data centers. So the revolt is just beginning, and I'm here for it. It is glorious to watch. I love every bit of it. And it truly is. Daniel Horowitz says this is the first time since the Tea Party. And the Tea Party was actually largely a right-wing movement. It was populist in nature. It was about the economy, but it consisted mostly of people who were right-leaning. This data center revolt and the revolt against AI taking everyone's job, this is ubiquitous. This is punching through typical political and ideological divides. It's also impacting the young and the old. Some of the best videos that I've seen out there, and I want to feature a couple of them when I have Daniel on the show, hopefully this week, maybe next week. Some of the best videos out there right now are boomer-aged commencement speakers who are speaking on college campuses across the country, and they're super excited. They mention AI or data centers or big tech, and the entire arena erupts in boos and heckling. The American kids, college graduates, are not happy about what's happening with AI, what's happening with jobs, what's happening with the data centers. And they're really disgusted with both political parties. And by the way, they don't hate each other based on whether you have an R behind your name or a D behind your name. So this is exciting to watch. And there is much to be optimistic about. But that doesn't mean that things aren't going to get bad and they're going to get worse. And Jeff Berwick talked about that yesterday, not yesterday, on Friday on the SJ show. So yeah, it's a lot. I do want to hear from all of you. What are you interested in today? What do you want to talk about today? On my agenda, you guys can see this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Fugazi. Michael Burry is calling and declaring shenanigans on the Nvidia and xAI deal. So xAI is Elon Musk, obviously. And there's a new deal, and he's just calling blatant shenanigans on this. So Michael Burry, as I mentioned, he's the brilliant investor who famously predicted the 2008 housing crash and made a fortune betting against it while everyone else lost big, right? The movie is The Big Short, and Christian Bale played Dr. Michael Burry famously, made him a household name. And now Michael Burry is coming out again. He's sounding the alarm, calling the massive Nvidia-xAI deal Fugazi, fake, because it uses shell companies, hidden debt, and very complex financing that quietly shifts huge risks onto retirees and their savings, just like the housing bubble. The difference between what happened in 2008 and what is going to happen potentially in 2026, and it looks like, or 27, and it looks like the writing is on the wall. In 2008, at least there were some protections for retirees, pension holders, people who were invested in 401ks. There were liabilities that were held by investment companies and investors. Like if you lost your client's money, like all of it, and invested in super risky, super shady investments, well, you could be sued, you could be held liable. As we discussed last week with Tiffany Cianci, the Trump administration now working with the banksters, insurance companies, and the big tech corporations, they are removing liability from some of these investment corporations. So they're giving, similar to the liability protection enjoyed by the big pharmaceutical companies. They can kill you with vaccines and never be held liable because it is written into the law of the land here in the US that they do not have any liability. It's insane. Well, Donald Trump and his administration, rather than getting rid of that, have now extended those liability protections to big chemical companies. That's in the case of glyphosate, which was a huge controversy just a couple weeks ago. And now it appears, according to Tiffany Cianci, and she's right about this, that they're going to extend those liability protections to investment companies and banksters. They can bankrupt you and they will never, ever have to pay out. They will never have to face any liability, and you probably won't even be able to sue them. So this is the epitome of fascism. And they're using this fascism to loot the country, to plunder the United States of America. And it is on the horizon. And this is what Michael Burry is warning about. So the question is, Elon Musk's AI empire and Nvidia's massive profits built on financial trickery that puts American retirees at risk. This is what we're going to talk about today on the SJ show, and I'll try to answer all of your questions. We're going to go over this all in layman's terms, and I have a couple really good articles that we're going to look at, or overviews. One of the Twitter accounts, the financial X accounts that I follow, is Ricardo. It's at RIC_RTP. Two overviews that he pushed out that are very good about essentially the AI bubble and the fact that AI is a total scam, a complete scam. In fact, to the extent that Sam Altman just over the weekend went back on his declaration. Remember, Sam Altman and Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, Mark Zuckerberg, they've all been out for the past 2 years telling you that AI is going to take over everything. It's going to become sentient. It's going to become more intelligent than all humans. It's going to achieve AGI. There are going to be no jobs for humans. We are not going to even have to think anymore. Robots are going to take care of or take over everything. And that's been a drumbeat. Well, there's a reason that they have been going out there with that propaganda message, which, by the way, was completely fake. And we told you that here on the SJ show. All right. I've been telling you guys for almost 2 years that this AI hype is just that, complete hype. There's no there. It's a great tool in some capacities, but it's nowhere near what they're saying that it is. Well, now we are beginning to see very clearly that the emperor has no clothes, that I was right. And the experts that I've had on this show were right from the very beginning. So we're going to look at the Microsoft story and we're going to look at the OpenAI story. Again, everything they said about AI is totally false. It is way too expensive to use. It's bankrupting the very companies who are pimping it, and it's going to lead to a collapse. And it's once everyone figures this out, and people are already starting to figure this out, and that is when it gets really tricky. And that's when, the bubble and the rug pull and everything falls on our heads. And that's what Michael Burry is talking about. So yeah, it's a big show. Big show today. We're going to go through all of that, and then we'll bring some experts in this week. But how are all of you guys doing today? It's great to see all of you. Skillful Lark on the Rumble live chat. Skillful, great to see you. Hey, Mod Trend. Really appreciate you. Dino Fun. Donald Trump is trying to become the most unpopular president in the United States of America. It's breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. It's almost as if someone told him, hey, buddy, it's about time for you to exit stage left. We're going to be moving someone else in. I mean, unbelievable. The 250-year celebration of the founding of the United States of America and our Constitution is this year, by the way. And the celebration is already on the rocks. Apparently, Milli Vanilli canceled his appearance for the big, huge 250th anniversary party that Donald Trump was going to hold at the White House. And it's becoming increasingly clear that it's just a massive, massive political propaganda event. So more and more people are pulling out. So they can't get the band to play. I don't know if the caterers are pulling out. Apparently, it was just reported today that Donald Trump is like, I don't really care. Apparently, in the middle of the night last night, he sent out another all caps Truth Social post and said, I don't care if no one shows up for the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America. I'm just going to stand up and, monologue for 90 minutes. So it's just Trump for 90 minutes. Talking about how brilliant he is, how great he is, how brilliant his family is, how rich he is, how wonderful the economy is. No one ever did it better. It's all about Trump. And happy birthday to the United States of America. Maybe he'll pass out some of his $250 bills that his face is going to be plastered across. That's a real story, by the way. The Trump administration is heavily lobbying to have a $250 bill minted with Donald Trump's face plastered all over it. It's the first time in like 200 years that a living sitting president puts himself on a dollar bill. And the big question is, with all the inflation, pass out those $250 bills. What's it going to get you in 2027? Like a cup of coffee, a piece of bread, a slice of bread? At the rate to which they are printing money and turning up the printing press, trillions of dollars, right? Because there is no appetite whatsoever in Washington, D.C. to cut even a penny of spending. So Doge was a lie. Efficiency was a lie. Cutting spending was a lie. He said, oh, I'm going to cut your taxes. So he cut your taxes like this much and then ramped up that money printing machine and increased your inflation by like this much, right? So total fraud, complete fraud. And yeah, good luck with your $250 Trump dollar bill, right? TEP 70, Shannon, nothing feels right about July 4th this year. 250 years. I know, it's weird, isn't it? It's all so strange. It's all so strange. Nothing is real. Everything is fake. And yeah, I'm just here with you, white knuckled on the roller coaster, trying to figure it all out. It's just crazy. Hey, Bill Benz, great to see you. Hey, Shannon. Hello, all again. Good to see you, Bill. What else do we have here? Ralph the Flying Dutchman about Lyme disease. I'm afraid that these convenient tick boxes are being used to make the whole country talk about Lyme disease while they are launching the dangerous fake vaccine in the meanwhile, just like COVID. This is why it's very important to have Sasha Latapova on the Shannon Joy Show. She's a pharmaceutical research expert. She's owned pharmaceutical corporations, one of the most brilliant medical freedom advocates out there since 2020. She has a lot to say about Ebola and the Hanta and now Lyme disease. They're throwing everything but the kitchen sink out. They're trying to, again, ramp up fear. We're hearing a lot about also, what is the one that makes you allergic to meat? The alpha-gal virus, and apparently the tick bites you and it makes you, or a mosquito bites you and makes you allergic to meat. And then you have to take a vaccine in order to not be allergic to meat. And it's like one pharmaceutical product after another. I wouldn't put this past anyone. It's a really great model. Bill Gates popularized it actually, and had to testify. He was actually slapped. I think that he had to pay a lot in fines because basically what Bill Gates did in the late 80s and 90s was build operating systems and then sell those operating systems to massive corporations and medium-sized corporations and small businesses like the Microsoft suite. And he was accused of purposefully injecting viruses into those operating systems, right? Or they were kind of built in or baked into the cake. We don't really know. I didn't watch it too closely back then, but this was basically the gist of it. So the viruses were either baked into the cake already, or they had some, way of infecting these operating systems. And then that would cause major problems for these businesses, small, medium, and large. And then, there was Bill Gates conveniently selling them antivirus software that would take care of the virus that he was accused of planting in their operating systems. So take that and extrapolate that model, which is, frankly, if you're running a corporation and you're a pure capitalist and all that matters is, giving a return on your stockholders' investment, right? So all that matters really is making money. It's quite a brilliant model, right? You injure a person or make them sick or an operating system and then sell them the cure, sell them the antidote. Oh, but by the way, the antidote has all kinds of things that are going to make you sick in other ways. But don't worry about that because they're going to have all kinds of other antidotes to sell you that will fix what, went wrong with the first antidote that you bought from them. So this is this is the perfect business model. If you're evil, if you're a wicked, sinister villain. But yeah, it makes sense. So when you see everything about the Hanta, alpha-gal, Lyme disease, the latest super scary on the market virus, you just have to take it with a grain of salt because, they're making money all the way down. Mark the Regan, did Gates really build the operating system or did he steal it? Well, I'm not going to go back that far, but these are bad people, bad people. Ollie Robin 9, loves Sasha, found Shannon through Sasha. Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool. Hey, Farah, great to see you. And Skillful Lark, great to see you as well. Okay, let's go to break. If you guys are watching on X, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Substack, please leave a comment. I'm going to try to look at those comments in the break. When we come back, we're going to get into the details. I have a lot of articles to go through today, and it's going to be somewhat of a heavy day, but this is very important, critically important that you understand what is coming, because there are very few outlets out there talking about this in this kind of detail, and it's not good. Every person who has a 401k, an investment, a pension, you're going to be impacted by this. Michael Burry is ringing the alarm bell, and you're going to understand exactly how this works and what is really going on with the U.S. economy today on the SJ Show, hopefully when we're done with all of this. So keep it tuned right here. On the break, please share this with everyone you know. Give us a thumbs up if you're watching on Rumble. Please follow the SJ Show. Same with YouTube and Facebook and Substack. And of course, sign up for the Shannon Joy Daily E-Blast. I send that out every single day. It overviews everything we're going to do on the live show. It gives you all of the links, my top stories, and it features all of our sponsors and advertisers as well. So I send that out every day, and you can get that so that you never, ever, ever miss an SJ Show live. Okay, we are going to go to break. When we come back, we're going to continue the show right here on the Shannon Joy Show. Hey, everyone. I just want to take a moment to thank one of my longtime friends, associates, my financial advisor, and a beloved sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show, Dom Polano over at PCM and Associates. Dom Polano, as many of you know, was the very first Shannon Joy Show advertiser almost 12 years ago, and he's been with us ever since. I trust Dom Polano. He manages some of my assets and my retirement fund, and he's offering his services to all of you. He can take clients anywhere in the country and even across the globe over at PCM and Associates. And as you guys know, it is so important today. There's so much volatility and chaos. You need a human being, a person that you trust, and a person that shares your values. And that's Dom Polano at PCM and Associates. So if you are looking for someone to help you manage your retirement or have investment advice, please consider calling Dom Polano over at PCM and Associates. His number, 1-800-536-1368. That's 1-800-536-1368. And of course, you can go to PCMPolano.com. That is PCMPolano.com to learn about all of his services and get in contact with his team. Again, so thankful for Dom Polano at PCM and Associates, and I think that you are really going to appreciate his services. So that number again, 1-800-536-1368 for a financial advisor that you can trust. Dr. Kelly Victory is actually battling breast cancer right now, which is absolutely tragic, but it is her story, and she's going to tell her story in just a couple weeks. And she's one of the people that you would never, ever, ever see it coming. She did everything right? She exercised, she ate very clean, she avoided processed foods, she had zero symptoms when she went in for a routine mammogram in 2023. And she walked out of that mammogram with a diagnosis of aggressive cancer that could have been fatal, actually, if it was found later. So it revealed a hard truth for Kelly. Even healthy people get cancer. And it exposed a much bigger issue. Most modern medicine is reactive and not preventative. You wait for a scare until you start to care. And every day our bodies, as you all know, are under constant pressure from vaccines, as we know, stress, toxins, inflammation, and immune strain. The damage builds quietly over time, year after year, until disease starts to form. So we've talked about all types of ways to treat and prevent cancers. We've talked about ivermectin. We've talked about fasting. We've talked about, as you know, avoiding vaccines. That's one of my main preventative measures when it comes to cancers. But Dr. Kelly Victory asks a different question. What can we do to daily support, or what can we do daily to support the body before something goes wrong? Now, this led her to formulate a product called Shield. So Shield is a two-part natural system. It's designed to support immune balance, antioxidant defense, and cellular health. Exactly the systems that you want to keep very strong to live a long, healthy life. In the morning, you drink a high-dose nutraceutical cocoa mix. Then with food, you take the soft gels. With ingredients like medicinal mushrooms, turmeric, green tea, olive leaf, berberine, and black cumin seed oil, Shield gives your body the tools it needs to keep your cells healthy. So right now, for the Joy audience, if you go to twc.health/joy, that's twc.health/joy, and use the promo code JOY, you'll get 10% off plus free shipping on all orders for U.S. residents. That's twc.health/joy, and make sure you use the promo code JOY to get 10% off plus free shipping. And by the way, you can use the promo code JOY for all of your purchases at twc.health/joy. They always have a discount for the Joy audience, and we are so thankful for their sponsorship. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Again, very thankful for PCM and Associates. That's Dom Polano. He's my financial advisor, and I just absolutely trust him. And also, of course, the wellness company TWC. If you guys are in the market for any of their products or services, I so appreciate when you patronize them. Let them know that I sent you. There are links to my pages in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. And of course, for TWC, always use that JOY promo code when you shop, because that helps them to know that I'm sending consumers and customers to them. So it's great to see you. Oh, hey there, Guitar Lily. It's okay if you're late to the Shannon Joy Show. You are always welcome. Better late than never, girl. I'm glad you're with us today. Opossum King is with us. Linus, appreciate you being with us today. Hey, Proctor Surf, good to see you. Linus says, I think a collapsed dollar is the only way to stop our criminal foreign policy. If the dollar is removed as the world reserve currency, Linus, everything changes. Everything changes. And that is not necessarily a bad thing, right? Opossum King says the USD will collapse. Building materials are still very high. And Scott Bessent, is prepared to steal your token wallet. Remember, Scott Bessent, who was the Treasury Secretary, I believe. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary for Donald Trump, was George Soros's right-hand man for over 2 decades. And he was with George Soros. In fact, he was his, when I say right-hand man, I think, he was right there when George Soros shorted the British pound and he made like, $1 billion in that transaction. And that was with Scott Bessent. So collapsing currencies in sovereign nations is something that he's very, very familiar with. It's very interesting. That sparked my attention, or that sparked, my antenna when Donald Trump selected him very early in his presidency. I'm like, that's not a good sign. He works for George Soros and always has. So the fox is in the hen house. Mark my word. And this is why everything seems so weird and bizarre right now. And yes, they are planning to plunder. They are planning to plunder. And unfortunately, I would say 90% of the American population is completely oblivious to this. Many, I think, understand that things are off and things are weird, and they are certainly feeling the pinch at the market, at the gas station, in terms of inflation for everything. But I don't think people realize how bad this is. And this is why it's very interesting. There is a complete disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. So 51,000 Dow, everyone's talking about the golden economy. All of the right-wing news media, pundits, influencers, and commentators are reading their scripts about the Trump economy, and they're lying to their base. They're lying to their listeners and viewers, because what's happening in Wall Street, it's a complete bubble. We're going to get into that. You're going to understand it in a moment. But first, let's talk about that disconnect. This is highly unique. This has never happened in US history to the extent that it is happening right now. And this was commentary from David Bird that I pushed out last week that I think was very relevant and succinct. And he's talking about consumer sentiment that has hit its lowest point in United States history. Okay. But something that stands out about that is that, there have been a lot of periods of recession, 60s, 70s, 80s, even in the early 90s. Recessions happened regularly. The economy would boom, reset, recover, then you repeat the cycle. But since the great financial crisis, we've basically only had one brief recession during COVID. And even that was heavily cushioned, as you all know, by a massive amount of money printing, stimulus, money printing, and emergency interventions in 2020 and beyond. So we haven't had the necessary correction in many, many, many years, and they are continuing to stimulate the economy in a variety of different ways as I speak to you today. So, at this point, consumers already feel recessionary, even though the markets are still elevated, and many economists continue debating, and this is while many economists are still debating whether or not we're in a recession. We are absolutely in a recession. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. Yet we're being propagandized by both left and right as to what's really happening in this country because of the stock market, which they're juicing, right? So this is where the disconnect comes in. The average person every day feels it. You have higher food prices, higher insurance costs, higher rent and mortgage payments. You have rising energy bills. Everyone is feeling that. Gas prices, plane tickets, travel. You're working 3 times harder just to maintain the exact same lifestyle. You all feel this. I know you do. I feel it as well. And when I have honest conversations with people about what they're experiencing, my neighbors, it's the exact same thing. It is getting harder and harder to survive, harder and harder to make ends meet. And this is evident in a million different ways, right? The rate of saving is at its lowest point in like forever. The amount of consumer debt, the amount of emergency withdrawals and hardship withdrawals from 401ks and retirement accounts is higher than it's ever been. I mean, there are a lot of reports out there showing that this is happening, but of course we're being gaslit by our own government and left and right mainstream media on this. They're tamping down what we're really experiencing, and they're just clinging to the stock market. That's it. That's all they have left. So at this point, now we're talking about Main Street. People are exhausted. And this is from David Bird. Recessions are typically healthy. Nobody likes hearing that, but historically, recessions are part of how economies reset and address and correct excesses, corruption. Weak or corrupt businesses fail, debt gets cleared out, speculation cools down, asset bubbles deflate, and the system resets and starts to rebuild again. The problem is that we've delayed that process for so long now. And in that delay, we have really created a massive disparity between the uber wealthy, politically connected elites and everybody else, right? So that gap is getting wider and wider and wider. And that's bad because it gives them more power. If you wonder why they're so brazen, they're so blatant, they don't even ask questions anymore. They don't even care if they have consent of the governed. Donald Trump has been out there saying he could care less about the midterms. He doesn't care what we think. They don't care what we think. They don't care what the consumers think. They don't try hard for our business or our dollars anymore because they're just stealing it all, right? Like they have all the power. And we're beginning to sense that, I think, and feel it. And so, this is now becoming, I think, even more noticeable, and it's going to pop. It's going to fall apart, right? So typically, Since 2008, every recession is met with more stimulus, more liquidity, more debt, more intervention. And they're doing that right now. They did it during the Biden administration. They started it in 2020, and now it's just on hyperdrive. It's just pedal to the metal. And so, as you all know, this helps with the short-term pain, but it also creates a bigger imbalance underneath the surface. So this is why we have record debt levels. This is why we have inflated asset prices. This is why we're having housing affordability problems, speculative behavior everywhere. Remember Donald Trump saying that everything is a casino now. Everything is a casino. And as you guys know, in a casino, the house always wins. The little guy never wins. Right? So speculation everywhere, Ponzi schemes everywhere, pump and dumps everywhere, insider trading, it's blatant, it's right in our face. And this is what Michael Burry is calling out right now, which we're going to get to in the final segment of the Shannon Joy Show. He goes on to say, it's a bit like a forest. And this piece is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, David Bird, the Wall Street, Main Street disconnect. And he ends it like this. It's a lot like a forest. Small fires are healthy because they clear out the dead wood. But if you suppress every small fire for decades, eventually you create the conditions for one enormous, uncontrollable blaze. And that is what many who are paying attention aren't being paid to suppress the information. They aren't being paid to lie to you. There are a lot of paid propagandists out there on the right and the left. But what people are worried about is this, that this time, it's going to be worse than anything that we've ever seen. And I do think, it's like the 250th anniversary, like everything just seems to be like culminating to a point. I don't know if you guys are sensing that, but I am. He ends, maybe we've simply delayed the economic cycle for so long that when the reset finally comes, it becomes one of the largest economic adjustments most people alive have ever experienced. And maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe that crisis, that economic collapse, that event is just what they need to move us into the new technocratic world order, the police surveillance state, the AI tech dystopia, the digital ID, plus their new digital currency, which they're scrambling to create as I speak to you today. Everyone is dumped onto the same system, the same digital ledger, and they have us. They've entrapped us. And getting out of that is going to be very difficult. So this is why we have to be prepared as much as humanly possible. Because when they pull the rug out, and they will pull the rug out. I mean, I don't know. They can't keep this going this long. Okay, there's going to be a rug pull. I don't think it's going to be a soft landing. Maybe they'll try to stretch this out over a couple years and do like one ramp down after another. I'm not sure. We never know how they're going to do it. But at some point, it is going to hurt and it's going to frighten millions of people. That's the point of all of this. They need you in a fear position. So when they pull out the rug, you are begging them for their digital dollars. You're begging them for their tokens or whatever the new electronic scheme is, whatever that new electronic currency is. They want people begging them for it because you won't be able to buy food. You won't be able to afford energy. You won't be able to heat your home. You won't be able to pay your mortgage. That's where they want us. And I think that's why they're building this trap. And Michael Burry has exposed it. And we need to pay attention. When Michael Burry has something to say, everyone needs to pay attention because he is the guy who predicted the housing collapse of 2008. And, a lot of people give him grief. He ended up shorting, these investment products. He made a lot of money. But that was after almost over a year of him desperately trying to warn as many people as humanly possible. He tried to warn government people. He tried to warn the banks. He tried to warn the big institutional investment houses like Lehman Brothers, right? He spent a lot of time trying to warn people about what he saw in the fundamentals, what he uncovered, what was essentially the fraud. And no one listened. No one wanted to hear from him. They just thought the money was going to keep coming. And it wasn't until he realized that he was not going to be able to wake people up that he began to look into credit, the credit default swaps. And it's very interesting. I mean, you'll learn all about that when we come back because we're going to go into the similarities. when we come back, between what happened in 2008 and what is going to happen this year, maybe next year, but in the near future here in the US. All the signals are aligning. They're all there that this is coming. And for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, if you can prepare, you can actually not only survive what is coming, but thrive. If you're awake and you're willing to face what is actually happening and you're firmly outside of the two-party political system, you understand that the uniparty, that they work together, there is no left or right. That's a figment of our imagination, something they use to divide us. People who are in that space are going to be people who are going to survive, and you're actually going to thrive. And hopefully there'll be enough of us so that we can help our fellow Americans in this really tricky situation that we're in. So we're going to talk about that when we get back here in the Shannon Joy Show. Again, as we go to break, please make sure that you are sharing this show. You're giving us a like, a thumbs up, and a comment. I'm going to be checking out YouTube, Substack, and some of the other platforms for your comments as well. And we're going to be back in just a minute to get into Michael Burry's prediction. He is ringing the alarm bell. He doesn't usually speak out, but he is now. And we're going to take a look at what he has to say about the bubble of all bubbles. So keep it tuned right here. We'll be back in a minute to continue the show. Please head over to theshannonjoy.com, theshannonjoy.com. This is my independent platform. It is my website. I own it. And the email list that I have created with all of you, those of you who have signed up for the Shannon Joy daily email, it is so important. It's the most critical element in terms of my connection to all of you. Should I be deplatformed on YouTube or Twitter or Rumble or any of the platforms that we are pushed out on today, it is my one line to all of you. It's where I can contact you directly and let you know where to find the show. I will never forget the censorship of 2020. I was permanently suspended on Twitter. I was completely shadow banned on Facebook. I lost the entirety of both audiences in the span of 30 days. In the early days of the Shannon Joy Show, I was completely yanked off of a radio station because I continued to critique Donald Trump, and it was a right-wing radio station. Overnight, I lost my entire platform. Thank God 10 years ago, or was 8 years ago, I had built up a presence on Twitter and Facebook and was able to continue the show until I moved it to another platform, a 50,000 watt radio station just down the road. But I am very familiar with being deplatformed and it happening very fast. That email list is everything. It is my pipeline to all of you. So if you haven't signed up for the SJ email list, please do so today. Go to theshannonjoy.com. That is theshannonjoy.com, and make sure that we're connected. Hey everyone, I am so proud to recommend Shift Gold to this audience as the gold standard for metals purchasing and investing. I couldn't ask for a better partner to help people understand gold and silver and use them as strategic instruments to protect their family's financial future. Peter Schiff's teaching on markets has shaped my understanding of how economies grow and why they collapse. And I've used him as a critical source for my daily broadcast for over 10 years. The Shannon Joy Show audience already knows and loves Peter because he has been such a treasured educator over the years. He is now the preeminent source for rock-solid financial analysis around the world. And this is because he understands the immutable laws of natural markets and his stalwart unwillingness to veer from absolute truths regardless of economic fads and political pressures. Bottom line, he doesn't sell out. And that means a lot to me. I trust Shift Gold, and you can too. Go to shiftgold.com/joy today to get started. You'll find some of the lowest spot prices for gold and silver and critical information on protecting your retirement savings with a gold or silver IRA. That's www.shiftgold.com/joy. Hedge against the chaos with our friends over at Shift Gold. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Shannon Joy Show. Buskman, I see you on the live chat. Great to see you. And yes, I absolutely will raid your show today after the Shannon Joy Show, but just make sure that you remind me to do so. Of course, we're live on Rumble, live on Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, the Shannon Joy Show broadcasting on about a dozen platforms live every day. And also, obviously, the Shannon Joy podcast. If you like to listen at your leisure, via audio, you can download the Shannon Joy Show on any of your favorite podcast platforms. We're doing about 300,000 downloads a month, which is really, really exciting. For those of you who support the Shannon Joy Show, I really appreciate all of you. You can go to theshannonjoy.com, theshannonjoy.com. Sign up for the daily e-newsletter that I send out every day before I go live. And also, if you like the show and you want to contribute monthly, you can set up an angel investment contribution to support this independent show. For those of you who support the SJ show every month, thank you, thank you, thank you. You do not understand how important that is in terms of keeping the lights on here. It is revenue that is predictable, that comes in every month, and it's just everything. So you guys are amazing, and I really appreciate all of you. Buskman, yes, great to see you. Hey, Ollie Robin 9. I see you all on the live chat. LT Oracle of Truth, great to see you. Hey, Hell's Bells, or Hell's Bay, not Hell's Bells. Buskman's in Las Vegas. Spicy. That's where all the casinos are. Well, Donald Trump has told us everything's a casino, right? They're gambling with everything. It's great. Don't you feel so stable? $20 for breakfast? That's a lot. It used to be you could go to Las Vegas and everything was super cheap. Like the hotels were cheap, the flights were cheap, the food was cheap, like the drinks, everything. You know, because you go there and you gamble and you lose most of your money, at the slots or at the tables. But I've heard lately it's like more and more and more expensive. Yeah, I won't be going to Vegas for quite some time. Yeah, right. Well, everything's a casino these days. Donald Trump told us so. And the main topic of today's show is about that. Michael Burry is predicting now massive collapse and exposing Nvidia and the xAI deal as Fugazi, aka fake. So Nvidia sold $5.4 billion in cutting-edge AI chips to a shell company called Valor that funnels them straight into xAI's, that's Elon Musk's data centers. The deal is financed through complex debt from Apollo and Athene, the same insurers that are selling annuities to everyday retirees. So billions are moving off the balance sheets, hidden in level 3 assets with massive leverage, and retirees are unknowingly carrying the risk while big tech books the wins. So this is the overview of what Michael Burry has uncovered. Again, we've been talking about it for quite some time here on the Shannon Joy Show with a variety of different experts. Catherine Austin Fitz, Peter Schiff, Tiffany Cianci, Ed Dowd, some of the most brilliant people in finance out there have been warning about this for quite some time, but no one can hear it because they are locked solidly within the two-party political paradigm, especially the boomers. And the boomers are the ones who are going to be impacted the most from this. It's very, very concerning. So let's start with the Magnificent Seven, just so that everyone kind of gets a lay of the land as we go through this, because this is going to get a little technical. I'm going to try to do this in layman's terms as simply as possible so people can get the big picture. But essentially, since 2020, right? Remember, the government locked us all down. A fake pandemic. They locked down the country. Small to medium-sized businesses were impacted the most. Large corporations, especially tech corporations that were tethered to the federal government, did just fine. They got PPP loans. They got government subsidies, insider deals. And they were allowed to stay open, right? You could, mom and pop stores had to shut down. Walmart was open for business. The pot stores were open, the liquor stores were open, fast food restaurants were open, while mom and pop restaurants were shuttered for the better part here in New York State of 2 years almost. A lot of them. It was very difficult to open the doors back up. Nothing has ever been the same since, ever. That was an atom bomb, an economic atom bomb dropped on the American economy, and it disrupted everything and really, tipped the balance to these massive corporations, especially tech corporations that are aligned with the government in, this unholy alliance. And, the free market is what really suffered there. And so the Magnificent Seven are really, it's seven companies, dominant US tech giants. And essentially, all of the gains that we have seen in the United States stock market for the past 6 years, well over 35%, okay, so it's an enormous amount, have been driven. The gains have been driven primarily by these seven US tech giants: Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, which is Google, Meta, which is Facebook, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla, obviously Elon Musk. So Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, a lot of these guys are tech bros. They have been working together for many years, and many of them, believe in the ideology of techno-fascism. Essentially, democracy doesn't work. The U.S. Constitution is, lame. The consent of the governed, totally lame, and that the world economy and basically everything should be run by a technocratic elite. They should be using these massive systems, AI, surveillance, technology, the robots, to corral every human being, tokenize every moving thing on the planet, and control all of it. And that's the wet dream of the tech bros. Well, the tech bros purchased Donald Trump, installed him into office, and now he is delivering the country and our institutions and our currency and everything to his bosses, the people who put him into the position of power. And, there's a side story about this with the data center being built, or whatever it is, the bunker / data center / operating center being built below Trump's ballroom in Washington, D.C. Many are now speculating Nvidia-xAI, really great Substack. She's been watching this story, and I've been trying to get her on the show. But essentially, her theory is that these tech bros, starting with Doge, and now as we move towards the end of the second year of the Trump presidency, the building of this massive data center in Washington, D.C., she alleges that Donald Trump is basically handing the country over to the tech bros, and they are building a parallel governmental system alongside our United States constitutional system that has dominated and governed how we do things here in the US for the past 250 years. Interesting that this is happening on the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country and the signing of our Constitution, right? 250 years later, it looks as if Donald Trump is handing it all over to his tech bros. And, they're aligned, obviously, the Magnificent Seven. They're not really even in charge, okay? So they, most of, their holdings are held by institutional investors like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. Okay, so the circular investing, so what's happening here is that, they are using all of the insider benefits that, come along with purchasing a president and putting him in office, right, to enrich themselves and consolidate power. And one of the ways that they're doing it is through circular investing. And this is how that works. So these companies pour billions into AI chips, but first these companies pour hundreds of millions into a candidate. They get the candidate installed, and then the candidate does what they want them to do. The coup d'etat happened, and we reported on this on the Shannon Joy Show, in the first 3 months of Donald Trump's presidency in 2025. Doge was a coup d'etat. Doge was Elon Musk and his team of technologists going in and hoovering up trillions and trillions of dollars worth of government information and information on every American citizen, trillions of dollars. So that's now out of, it's still, held within our government, but they have that somewhere up in the cloud to do God knows what with when they actually pull the mask off and reveal this very dastardly plan. Okay. But the circular investing works like this. After purchasing the politician and putting him in office, right? And then he writes all kinds of executive orders, memorandums, passes legislation that pull down all the barriers, all the guardrails, everything that would say what you're doing is illegal, unconstitutional, immoral, vile, predatory, right? All of that goes away through legalese in the color of law because they pass legislation making theft and plunder legal, which is what Trump has been up to over the past year and a half. So then these companies pour billions into AI chips, so the chips, data centers, and cloud services, and largely buy from or invest in each other. So Nvidia sells GPUs to Microsoft, Google, Meta, etc. And these firms then hype AI growth, boosting Nvidia's stock and their own valuations. Index funds and passive money keep pouring in. So those are the institutional investors that are just dumping your pensions and your 401k into these shady, inflated companies who are lying and cheating about their profit. They're not making any money at all, by the way. We'll get into that in a moment. Okay. So anyway, the index funds and passive money keep pouring in, creating a self-reinforcing loop that inflates prices beyond the fundamentals. And then this is propped up by Squawk Box and Bloomberg Business and Fox Business and all of the business channels, right? Who are like, yeah, this is great, forget about Main Street, but look at 51,000 on the Dow. So, people like Michael Burry would say that this resembles very similarly, and it's actually worse, the late 1990s dot-com mania with artificial demand, accounting tweaks, and then, the hyping of mass risks. And it is also obviously very similar to what happened in 2008 with the housing collapse. So this is the issue. This is the issue. And this is what conservative media has been missing. For the past 2 years. They're so invested in this left versus right. Somehow, Donald Trump is the savior that is going to save America from, the radical left, that they can't see the fascism, dystopian fascism that is right in our own backyard. Yeah, great point, Hells Bay. I see you guys on the live chat. What do you think? Is this making sense to everyone? I'm trying to keep it super simple. We have experts that come in. I welcome in absolutely brilliant experts who can go even further into detail on these things. I think it's time we get Catherine Austin Fitts in again. Because, Solari Report, if you guys are not following Catherine and you are not subscribed to the Solari Report, that is a really great resource. Also, technocracy.news, that's Patrick Wood's operation. And Patrick Wood has been, he understands the ideology, the fascist and anti-human ideology of technocracy. He's been working on this and reporting on it for over 20 years. And he has an amazing site if you want to learn more about this. Whitney Webb has done great work over at Unlimited Hangout, along with her counterpart, Mark Goodwin. We also have great reporting. I mentioned Dre Dossier on the ballroom. She's beginning to get it. And she's an expert on Larry Fink. I think it's Larry Fink. Or no. Who is she? I forget who it is that she's really good on. But she's doing some really good work right now. Obviously, Sasha Latipova is going to be joining us this week. Daniel Horowitz has been doing killer reporting on his platform, especially on the data centers, masking what is ultimately a massive land grab. Okay, so a lot of really great resources out there. Obviously, Ed Dowd, I'll work on getting him in again. Again, you want to follow him on Twitter. So these are the sources that I use. This is how I learn about all of this. I would love to get Michael Burry on. He only did one interview this year. I recommend you guys watch The Big Short. It's good. And there was an interview done by Michael Burry. It's about 48 minutes long, and I forget who conducted that interview, but it's one of the only ones that he's done in the past year. It was so enlightening. This guy's quirky. We're going to talk about Michael Burry and what his predictions are. Hells Bay, thank you so much. I am in finance. You are doing a good job. Appreciate you, Hells Bay. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not my forte, but as we did during the dark days of COVID and lockdown, we had to learn how to read research papers. We needed to learn how to understand medical terms. We needed to learn, how to look at peer-reviewed studies. And so we went through the process of learning enough and having the best resources, the best expert guests in on the program. And that's how we were able to survive, and people who are watching the Shannon Joy Show in 2020, in 2021, people who were with me, part of my audience in those years, a lot of them didn't get shots because of the unbelievable experts that we had, the guests that we had on the show, people like Dr. Robert Malone and Dr. Peter McCullough and Sasha Latapova and Dr. Naomi Wolf and Dr. Mary Talley Bowden and Dr. Who else did we have? I mean, we had all of them on. We had Aaron Siri on the show. We had Dr. Pierre Corey, and they were just amazing. And because of all of that, again, I was not a doctor. I'm not an expert in anything medical. I'm not in the pharmaceutical industry, but we were able to find and discern who the great resources were out there. And I have people tell me all the time, oh my gosh, Shannon, I would have gotten the shot if it weren't for what we learned on your show with those experts. And so I do that. I take that model and I apply it to everything, whether it's foreign policy, education, healthcare, in this case, finance. That's what the show is. That's what I do. So Hells Bay, I appreciate your encouraging words there as we begin to try to understand what it is that Michael Burry is warning about. And so we're going to get into that now. If you guys have questions, if you have comments, I want to see and hear from all of you. Hells Bay has this to say. This is how bad it is. During the Great Depression, 48% of kids ages 18 to 29 lived with their parents. Today, it is 52%. That's insane. Just insane. Hey, Johnny Reb, 1860. Great to see you on the live chat. Really appreciate you joining us. Yeah. A lot of conservatives are tricked into thinking that stakeholder capitalism is a free market. Truer words have never been spoken. Johnny Reb, 1860. Conservative news media has completely twisted and warped what it means to be a free market capitalist. Has nothing to do with free markets. At this point, capitalism is essentially the equivalent of fascism. It is an unholy alliance, as I mentioned before, between big government and big corporations. So anything that the government does to make corporations more money, including removing liabilities and granting them liability protection, basically saying you can never be sued, chemical companies, pharmaceutical companies, AI companies, and now financial companies. Donald Trump has written into the letter of the law via legislation and executive order, complete liability protection in almost every major category that there is in the country today. That's capitalism. That is, that's what many on the right are celebrating. That's not free market capitalism. That's fascism. It's fascism. And conservatives do not understand that. Libertarians don't even really understand that either, because they really got into like the Bitcoin tech stuff. And I'm thankful that a lot of libertarians are waking up to this, which it's good. But this is why you'll never, ever, ever hear me call myself a capitalist. I never defend capitalism. By the way, it was coined and the term was created by Karl Marx. So the founder of, he wrote the Communist Manifesto. So capitalism, I don't consider myself a capitalist. I believe in free markets, laissez-faire, hands-off, small government, max liberty, very few laws, very little power consolidated in Washington, D.C., max power to the individual, local communities, local governments, and the states, right? And very, very free markets with very little regulation. And if there is regulation, it shouldn't be coming from the federal government. It should be coming from local governments, governing bodies, or state governments. And that's it, right? And we're completely warped. We're turned upside down on that. This is why we have these massive billionaires. This is why we have megalomaniac, control freak, lunatic, God complex, narcissistic, sociopath billionaires running everything. because we haven't, there's no competition. They don't have to fight for their money. They're fat and happy, rich and lazy because they don't have to work for their money because they've purchased politicians. That's not capitalism, people. It's fascism. Anyway, I digress. So this is what Michael Burry has to say. And this is the big headline today of the show. And we have about 15 minutes left. So I want to hear from you. Mark the Regan, I too make the distinction between free markets and capitalism. I will never call myself a capitalist, ever, 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 ever. What does it mean anyway? There's no real definition of it. And if you take, I mean, if you, I keep like going off on tangents. I swear I'm going to get to Michael Burry. But, if you look at capitalism and the ultimate goal, like nothing matters. There are no morals, no principles, no ideology, no belief system, no guardrails. It's essentially capitalism is making money, right? And if it makes money, then it's good. If it doesn't make money, it's bad. If you are making money for the stakeholders or the shareholders, you're a good capitalist. If you're not making money for them, well, then you're not a good capitalist, right? And there are a lot of ways to make money, really, really dark, evil ways to make money by the standards of capitalism. Well, as long as you are delivering returns to your shareholders, well, then you're a good capitalist. Like I don't believe that, right? You can make money prostituting people. You can make money in child sex trafficking. You can make money in arms trafficking or weapons trafficking. You can make money in war, endless war. You can make a lot. We see that. You can make a lot of money in gambling and all kinds of really bad things that hurt humans and hurt people. I would never make money. Believe me, I've turned down a lot of advertisers in a lot of those categories because I don't think it's ethical, right? So if you take capitalism and you remove any type of ethical boundaries or guidelines, well, then it's just as bad as communism or socialism or fascism, right? You have to have ideological principles, like things like the things that we wrote down in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights, that are holding in these isms, all of these political ideologies and isms, right? If you don't have those basic guidelines, then they're going to hurt people. Johnny Reb, 1860. They're fine with profit destroying our borders, language, cultures as well. Right. You see that in the build out of the data centers. They don't care if the data centers poison people, kill people, destroy people's homes, destroy people's communities. They don't care if it destroys the landscape. They don't care if it destroys our ability to obtain water and power. None of that matters as long as it makes a profit for the corporation that is bulldozing their way into the backyards of Americans across the country in the form of these data centers. Then it's good for capitalism, right? It's capitalistic. Well, yeah, one company is making billions of dollars by crushing thousands and thousands of homeowners and average Americans. And that's what they're trying to pimp to us when they're trying to pimp capitalism. So again, when I talk about these type of things, I use the term free markets. And in a free market, you don't just get to run over people and essentially steal their land from them, right? You have the right to private property. Those people have a right to their private property, and they have a right to not have outsiders coming in and destroying their own communities. And we're going to see how this all works out. RJ Pazzi. Read John Mackey's The Conscientious Capitalist. I don't like the word, RJ Pazzi. I don't like the word capitalism. I think it's ruined. It's a ruined word, and I'm not going to use it anymore. Free markets. Everyone wants their words, Future as in 1929, approximately 25% of the US population lived on farms or directly were involved in the agricultural sector. By 2026, that percentage has decreased to less than 2%. Hopefully things are going to change. I mean, big changes are coming, guys, because this bubble is going to pop. All right. And we're going to look at what Michael Burry had to say about this. Again, let's remind everyone who Michael Burry is. Again, he's calling out the Nvidia-xAI deal as Fugazi, totally fake, Ponzi scheme. It's all a bubble, and they're going to drop this on the heads of retirees. So your 401k, your pension is at risk. So Michael Burry, he's brilliant. And you guys might know him. He's actually Dr. Michael Burry. He was a medical doctor turned investor. He runs his own hedge fund. It's called Scion. So he's famous for digging into financial statements, spotting hidden risks and fraud, and things that most people and investors are missing, and then betting against the mainstream narrative. And that's exactly what he did in 2008 with the housing collapse. He's known as a contrarian, and he was featured in the movie The Big Short. So Christian Bale played him, made him a household name. But Michael Burry was one of the only guys ringing the alarm bell. He's at least the highest profile guy that was ringing the alarm bell about the 2008 financial crisis. And he noticed in 2008 that the US housing market was a bubble built on terrible subprime mortgages. So this was back in the day when they wanted to democratize home ownership. There weren't enough Black people owning homes or too many white people owning homes, and they wanted to open it up to everyone. So the government came in, they got involved, and basically forced mortgage companies to give very risky home loans to people who didn't have great credit and were likely not able to pay back those loans. And so, that happened throughout the 2000s. And basically, banks began, when those mortgages went into default, the banks were packaging the risky loans into very highly complex securities. They were hiding the real danger from the American people and from their investors and selling them as safe investments. So Michael Burry realized this, and most people know him for shorting shorting the market and making a lot of money. But before he went into the shorting, he actually tried to warn people. He spent a lot of time trying to warn government people. He tried to warn investment people. He tried to warn the banks, and everyone basically just laughed him right out of Dodge. They were like, yeah, forget you. We're not worried about this at all. And so they just kind of laughed him off as a clown. So eventually what he did, he was so convinced that he was right about the fundamentals, right? And he was going up against everyone, government, banks, business, investment, insurance, everyone, that he decided to bet against it by buying, this is really interesting, credit default swaps, it's essentially an insurance policy, right? So he somehow figured out how to get these credit default swaps, which was an insurance policy, and the insurance policies would pay off if the housing market crashed. So it wasn't his fault that the housing market crashed, but when he realized that the S is about to hit the fan, he, through these credit default swaps, invested in those insurance policies and ended up making, so this was happening years before. I mean, I want to say it was a year and a half, maybe more, before 2008. When it finally crashed in 2008, he made hundreds of millions of dollars while everyone else basically lost everything, right? Ollie Robin 9, hey, when life gives you lemons. Well, but this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. This is where if people have their heads on straight and you are not worshiping a political cult, and you are not getting your news from left or right-wing news media, but finding really good sources, people who are willing to stand up and speak out when it's not popular, then you can be like Michael Burry, not to the same extent. I mean, he's absolutely brilliant and very, very rich, but you can do little things within your own life to protect yourself against, or to hedge against what they're doing, the fraud that is coming. All right. So that is what he did in 2008. He then retired into obscurity, didn't even do investments for a really long time. And only recently, in the past year, has Dr. Michael Burry come out on the scene. And I reported about 8 or 9 months ago, he made another comment. It was an X post about the current bubble and the circular trading structure and the Magnificent Seven and how they're tethered to these major institutional banking firms like BlackRock and Vanguard, and how all of them are tethered to the federal government and enjoying these protections from the federal government. So it's fraud upon fraud upon fraud layered on top of each other, stemming from Washington, D.C., and it's about to hit the fan, right? So he has begun talking about this, and he even bet against, I think, the U.S. stock market about 8 months ago. I could be wrong on that. But so this is what went down in 2008, and we're going to look at the similarities between 2008 and what we're seeing right now. So as I mentioned, in 2008, very risky mortgages, which never would have existed if it weren't for the government coming in and creating the market, forcing the market, which made just a very few handful of corporations filthy, filthy rich, right? Even the people getting the mortgages were not better off. They were getting mortgages that they couldn't afford. They eventually defaulted on and had to, foreclose. They lost their homes, right? So it didn't help anyone on Main Street. Didn't really help the little guy. It was just a fraudulent way to invest and make a ton of money and abuse insider trading, because the people who knew about all of this, well, they got in on the first rung of the ladder. So the risky mortgages were hidden in complicated layers of securities. The banks booked the profits up front, while the real danger sat with the investors, including retirees and their pension funds. Everything looked fine on paper until it didn't. Well, Michael Burry is now saying that with this particular deal between Nvidia and xAI, which is Elon Musk's organization. And by the way, Elon Musk is not a capitalist. He's a techno-fascist, and he's one of the biggest welfare queens on the planet. He is a corporate welfare queen. He would have no money if it weren't for all of the subsidies that are handed to him by the federal government, which he then uses and parlays into other companies. It is his proximity to government and his willingness to sell us out that makes him rich. And you can apply that to almost every one of these tech bros right now. They're cheaters. They're cheaters. They're monopolists. They're crooks. They're liars. They're manipulators. And they're plunderers. And they're predators. Understand that. There are no good guys in this scenario, left or right. Anyway, I digress. So today, per Dr. Michael Burry, in this deal, and he goes through it in detail, and I will have an expert in to go into this in more detail, but we're doing, again, today, just the broad overview of this. Nvidia sells $5.4 billion in advanced AI chips to a shell company called Valor. Valor funnels them then to Elon Musk's xAI. Nvidia books the full revenue immediately. The chips don't show clearly on either company's main balance sheet, and the deal is financed with debt from Apollo, which gets packaged and sold to Athene, which is an insurance company that sells annuities to retirees. Okay, there you have your 401ks and your pension funds. A huge chunk ends up as hard to value level 3 assets with high leverage, 16 times in some cases, much of it offshore to Bermuda. So this is what Burry is warning. Just like 2008, the upside, which is the AI hype, Nvidia profits, xAI growth, is all captured by big tech, while the downside risk when AI slows down and everyone realizes that none of these companies have made any money. That these companies, that AI is so expensive that none of these companies are going to even use it themselves. In fact, I have a piece here that is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. Microsoft just banned its own engineers from using AI. The tool was literally costing more than the humans it was supposed to replace. So they can't afford, humans are cheaper than AI. Much cheaper than AI and much easier to work with than AI is the bottom line. And this is why none of these companies are making any money. This is why the bubble continues to inflate. And so when that happens and the rug is pulled, and Sam Altman just admitted, this is Sam Altman of OpenAI, just a couple days ago, admitted, this is what he said, and I quote, he is delighted to have been wrong about AI taking everyone's job because it was never there. There's no there. It was never real. And I've been telling you guys this for years. Now they're admitting it. I have 2 very good pieces that we're not going to get to today from Ricardo, who is one of the finance accounts I like on Twitter, about Microsoft, Uber, Nvidia, and the fake AI arms race with China. This is all hype. This is all fake. Michael Burry knows it. And he knew it in 2008. It's why he predicted the housing collapse, and he knows it now. And this is why he's come out now with these predictions. This is his warning. Just like in 2008, the upside, the hype, the profiteering, the growth is captured by big tech. They're going to take their returns. They're all getting rich. The downside, when that bubble bursts, and it's going to, the risk is going to get quietly shifted to everyday people's retirement savings without them knowing. Complex structures make the risks disappear from public view until something breaks. Okay. And this is why last week, who was it? Larry Ellison? It was Larry Fink, I believe, of BlackRock, who said in a fireside chat with the governor of Texas regarding the data centers and the AI build out, he said, we have plenty of money. We have plenty of money. We have pensions, we have 401k, we have insurance. He said it blatantly, outright. You all are going to carry the risk, and you're going to carry it on your retirement account, in your pension, in your 401k. And I would love to be proven wrong, but I don't think that I am. And so now is the time where, as I mentioned, I want to get some of your comments and questions, and we're going to close out the show. And then we're going to get into, we're going to do a lot of finance. I'm going to work on Ed Dowd. Of course, we're going to talk to Daniel Horowitz. Guitar Lily. Larry Fink. Absolutely a Fink. Very aptly named, I believe. I agree with you, Guitar Lily. Guitar Lily. Humans are cheaper than AI. Then I need a raise. Make sure you guys look. I linked it in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. AI not so hot, the OpenAI story, and AI not so hot, the Microsoft, Uber, and Nvidia story, right? And we were telling you guys, remember, like there were these scams that were run, I want to say a little over a year ago, where a company would come out and they'd be like, look at this amazing thing that we did with AI. Like they built a building or something, or built a robot, or just something extraordinary that was proving that AI was sentient and that AI was so rapidly developing that it's going to be smarter than every human in the whole world, blah, blah, blah. And so these stories would come out, and I need to find one because maybe I'll overview it tomorrow because it's hilarious. But these companies were caught. Essentially, the AI was not doing any of the artificial intelligence. It was actually like warehouses full of Indians, meaning people from India, like pumping out the data, doing everything manually. So it wasn't artificial intelligence. It was actually humans in a warehouse doing the thing that they said artificial intelligence actually did. And it was a total fraud. And the company got completely exposed. And I don't remember the company's name. But if you guys know which company that was, I remember the story. It's crazy. Well, this is all happening now. This piece from Ricardo, his handle is at RIC_RTP. He's great. And it's along the line of AI not so hot. Microsoft just banned its own engineers from using AI because the tool was literally costing more than the humans it was supposed to replace. So Microsoft gave thousands of their engineers access to Claude code 6 months ago and encouraged them to use it. The engineers loved it and the adoption exploded. But then the invoices arrived. Token-based pricing means every query, every code, every review, every debugging session costs money. A scale across 100,000 engineers, the numbers became so large that Microsoft issued an internal order to cancel nearly all of the Claude code licenses by the end of June and force everyone onto their own cheaper tools instead. So in this case, the humans are much cheaper than the AI. The company that invested $5 billion in Anthropic just told its own people to stop using Anthropic's product because it costs too much. And they go on to talk about Uber, and then they go on to talk about Nvidia. They go on to talk about other companies. This was written, it's crazy. Meta. So yeah, there's no there there. There's no there there. And we're going to look at this piece a little bit tomorrow as well. But yeah, that's the point. This is why I told you. They call it artificial intelligence for a reason. It's artificial. They need humans in order to create it. It's the dumbest thing in the world. And I like a little bit of AI. I use AI in certain capacities for the show. I use it to gather data and to fact check. Like there are really great useful ways to use artificial intelligence. But it's never going to really replace humans, ever, 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 ever. Robots are not going to replace humans. They can help in some areas, but I think we're going to be proven right on a lot of these things. Not that there won't be robots in the future, but what they're predicting and what they're saying is a total lie. And this is the other piece that I have, the AI not so hot, the OpenAI story. This is about how Sam Altman, who has been out there, pimping the AI is going to take over everything and become smarter than humans, and the robots are going to do everything. He just came out now and said that he was 4 days after OpenAI secretly filed for $1 trillion IPO. Altman went on stage in Sydney and said that he was delighted to be wrong. Past 2 years, he was delighted to be wrong about AI destroying jobs. That's because he got what he wanted. He got the $1 trillion IPO valuation, and he did that by pimping dystopia, which gave him a platform and got the interests of both governments and investors. That was able to pump him up. And then, of course, using the other Magnificent Seven, they were able to basically defraud, and he got what he wanted. So now that he has to pitch this to actual investors, he doesn't. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Yeah, grab that IPO when you can, said CJP Rumble. Yeah, so they're all bad guys. And I think we are going to be approaching a reset. And I think that a lot of the reset is going to be in human creation, human production, human ingenuity. I think that's going to be the check to what these guys are trying to accomplish. And I want to talk about that, right? You mentioned 2% of Americans are working farms and in agriculture. I see that changing. I see people becoming very alarmed, humans becoming very alarmed about the data centers, AI, technology, the robots. And I see a movement, a cultural movement towards a more sensible relationship with machines and with social media and with information. I'm seeing more and more people wanting to get away from the screens, off of the screens. They want to disconnect from the grid. They want to get their feet in the sand, on the ground. They want things that are natural. And this is evident culturally. This is evident in the trends. And we've identified some of those trends here on the Shannon Joy Show. It doesn't mean that you reject technology completely, but we put it in its place. And that's what humans do. And that's what we're going to do. Right now, we're just dealing with charlatans, crooks, and predators using all of this to try to control it and control us. We got to take it back. And that's going to be through bottom-up organization. It's why I love everything that I'm seeing at the data centers. People are smashing them down. And we have a couple stories this week. Another one bites the dust. These data centers are crashing and burning in towns and villages across the country. And it is glorious to watch. And so we're going to be looking at that as well. So that concludes the Shannon Joy Show for today. Thank you all for being with us today. Thank you to our sponsors. Appreciate all of you. And of course, we're going to be back tomorrow to do it all again. This week, I'm working on Sasha Latipova. I'm working on Daniel Horowitz and a few other great guests. And we'll also, because I think that we're going to have to take a very heavy focus on finance, economies, and technocracy, because that's the next shoe that's going to drop, right? They're not getting any traction anymore with the super scary killer viruses that are going to kill you all, right? Like that's not working. It's not creating enough fear among the American people, and they're not able to generate the crisis necessary to drive sales of vaccines and also government interventions. So Americans we're on to that. So I do think that we're going to see something in the economic realm, and then potentially something involving war, nuclear war, some type of nuclear action. We know that Donald Trump would like to declare war on something so that he can lock us down again and maybe cancel midterms. So there's going to be a lot going on. And again, as you know, we're all a little nervous about July 4th. And the 250th anniversary of the U.S. because, these things always seem to happen on anniversaries. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that as well. But appreciate all of you. And Fidgety Guy, great to see you. LT Oracle of Truth, great to see you. Guitar Lily, thumbs up to everyone. Please, guys, give the show a thumbs up if you're watching on any of the platforms. Thank you to our YouTube viewers. I'm so glad that you're here today. Thank you to our Substack viewers and our Twitter viewers. You guys are amazing. We're really busting up those views, which is great. Almost 1,000 live viewers right now, which is really great for this really independent show. So you guys are amazing. And I appreciate all of you. If you're in the market for any of the Shannon Joy advertisers or sponsors, whether it's the wellness company or the satellite phone store or Shift Gold, I mean, gold, silver, it's kind of at a bargain right now. It's, people are a little bearish on it, but it's come down from those over 5,000 valuations, I think temporarily. Now is a really good time to consider talking to someone about maybe moving some of your investments in your pension or your IRA or your 401k into physical gold and silver, or very, very safe, boring, non-technology stocks, like everything but the Magnificent Seven is what I've said to my financial advisor. And this is not financial advice, but now is a really good time to go to Shift Gold, shiftgold.com/joy. Again, Peter was one of those guys who was warning about the housing collapse as well. And Peter Schiff is, as you guys know, an amazing sponsor. The Shannon Joy Show had him on last week, and he's fantastic. I mean, he is a truth teller, even when it's unpopular, just like Dr. Michael Burry. And that's why I'm so thrilled to be working with him in this collaboration. He's really one of the only guys that I would recommend that I trust for gold and silver purchases. So at shiftgold.com/joy, you can do physical gold and silver. You can hedge against whatever they're planning with a gold and silver backed IRA, where you just move some of your investments into another category just in case. And then also he's doing the tokenized gold. So it's gold that you own it, but it's held for you. And that allows younger people who don't have enough money to reach the minimums of actually, buying the physical gold and silver and having it shipped to them. You can purchase gold and own it. They keep custody of it, but it's yours. And you can do that for $50 a month, $100 a month, $200 a month. It's great for young people who want to diversify, in terms of their savings. So all kinds of options over at shiftgold.com/joy. And that's why I really appreciate them. And I appreciate all of you. So you guys have a wonderful day. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again on the Shannon Joy Show. We'll meet you here right around 12:15 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.